Coming up on this edition of the Pro Wrestling Show, we have the predicted outcome for WWE Hell in a Cell as 3 title matches be contested inside the steel structure, the red steel structure, Hell in a Cell. These 3 title matches are personal and it has grudges all over it. Plus we'll have the undercards for Hell in a Cell, in addition to hot topics, the latest in wrestling news and information throughout the week. Man, you got a lot of load to talk about. Man, all this and more on the Pro Wrestling Show starts right now. Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of the Pro Wrestling Show. I'm your host as always, Kid Dix here. Glad you can join us on the Pro Wrestling Show. And oh man, this is the predicted outcome for Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell comes your way from the WWE Thunderdome. Thunderdome indeed. But first things first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on Connect. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribing is caring. Tell a friend, call a friend, subscribe. Subscribing takes no minute away. Hit that click button and subscribe, and you won't miss nothing near a minute of the Pro Wrestling Show or wrestling content. Man, I'm so excited. Here comes. Alright, let's get to WWE Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell indeed. Alright, many of you know Hell in a Cell, the famous steel structure of when they have personal rivalries, grudges get settled in the ring inside the cell. And this year is no different from last year. Last year had a few short matches. They had a makeup card, but this year it's coming about the same edition. But this time they have 5 matches thus far being announced. And I'll tell you what matches I think will be added on. Well, I don't think WWE didn't even add these matches to begin with. Alright, let's get started with Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell coming your way tonight. But like I said, with Hell in a Cell, we're going to kick off with the women's. The women's Hell in a Cell for the SmackDown Women's Championship as Champion Bayley enters her first Hell in a Cell match against a former best friend and tag team partner, Sasha Banks. Now, this whole rivalry got started when Bayley and Sasha, just about a year ago, when Sasha influenced Bayley to turn heel. They was a formidable team with Bayley and Sasha side by side. You couldn't miss one without the other. Well, things started to crumble piece by piece, layers by layers, with slight insults to each other, slight, jealousy. But it all came ahead at WWE, at that SmackDown after WWE Payback, when Bayley and Sasha were supposed to go against the current champions, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Well, they lost in that losing effort, but things got even worse when Sasha was getting her feel her knee. Bayley tried to help her friend, but she attacked her out of nowhere, attacked her with a chair, and left Sasha out on the shelf. Well, Sasha tried to make her come back and return, and she wanted a piece of Bayley, and she's gonna get her piece of Bayley this time, but inside Hell in a Cell. Well, this past Friday on SmackDown, things got really intrigued where Bayley didn't want to sign the contract, and Sasha had to make Bayley sign the contract to make this official. Well, Sasha Banks put the 1-2s on her with a chair, using the chair as a weapon and holding Bayley by capacity. Bayley forced to sign the contract. Now the 2 women are now embroiled into the Hell in a Cell match. So, like I said, this is Sasha's 3rd Hell in a Cell match. Sasha Banks been experienced, but the thing is, she hasn't won one. She's been going against battles against Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's title, but this time for the SmackDown Women's title. Now, Bayley's been on a long, lengthy role as SmackDown Women's Champion, her long reign. So I see that Sasha Banks wins this match and becomes the new SmackDown Women's Champion, ending Bayley's 1-year reign as Women's Champion on SmackDown. So look for that to happen. Also, speaking of that, rivalry continued that started on SmackDown, now festers from different shows. as The Miz and John Morrison. Well, it's really Miz versus Otis for the Money in the Bank briefcase. Now, Miz and John Morrison and Heavy Machinery, Otis and Mandy, they've been playing political games. Miz tried to do the favor and call USA Network way before the draft to get Mandy Rose traded from SmackDown to Raw. Miz was successful in that. They left Otis without his girlfriend. And when the draft came, Tucker was sent to Raw, leaving Otis all by himself on SmackDown. So I think this week it continued on. Many people know it's obvious what happened. Miz and Morrison went against Tucker and a tag team partner that looks similar and resembles to Otis. He said he was not Otis. He's like some Mexican lucha libre or something. Well, the lucha libre won, and it continued on SmackDown, where I don't get why WWE tries to put the Raw stars on SmackDown after the draft, and you should know it's completed. I don't get that logic, that thinking, where keep that on Raw, keep that on SmackDown. They had to promote each other. I'm like, oh God, they don't know what they're doing. Vince, you don't know what you're doing. Bruce, you don't know what you're doing. But they had their version of Wrestler's Court, where Miz and John Morrison were the plaintiffs, and they went against Otis as the defendant. Otis had to defend himself, and they had cast of characters including Ted Long, Ron Simmons as the Bell, Oscar. It was just so many people that was on Rey Mysterio. I was like, what in the world? And JBL was the judge. He served as the judge. JBL came with his verdict. Miz tried to bribe him with some more money, but JBL was enticed. But JBL made the decision that at Hell in a Cell, Otis will go against Miz for the Money in the Bank briefcase. So we'll see on that. Could Miz be reliving what he did 10 years ago and bring it to fruition? I want to say they're trying to figure out ways to get that briefcase out of Otis. And then you want to say Miz might win it. But then I'm going to go with Otis, because Otis is going to find some form of fashion to keep that briefcase. And Miz and Morrison going to be so like thinking they got it in the bag, and then they screw it up. So look for Otis to win that match. All right. And another match that came from SmackDown that's on Raw, as Jeff Hardy goes one-on-one against Elias. Elias still returned from his injury, and Elias blames Jeff Hardy for his missed troubles, for him running him over while he believes Jeff Hardy was drunk. Well, that's going to come to fruition this week, one-on-one, where Elias did his concert. And now they're looking for Elias to be the next star in the process on Raw, to be pushed. And then when you think about it, Raw got 3 hours. So people, you know, you're advocating that time. Raw's a longer show. SmackDown's somewhat like a secondary show. But SmackDown's and Raw about equally the same, the roster. Jeff Hardy interrupted, disguised himself as a band rock or something, one of the oldest bandmates, and knocked Otis senseless. So look for Elias to win that match over Jeff Hardy, as Jeff Hardy pushes him over. All right, we'll have the second half of the Pro Wrestling Show predict the outcome for Hell in a Cell with the 2 World Championship matches. That's really personal, and I mean really personal indeed. But coming up next, we'll have hot topics as we talk about what's going on, the ips and rounds throughout the week of wrestling. All this and more on the Pro Wrestling Show returns after a minute. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Show. I'm your host as always, Kenny Dix here. Glad you can join us in the Pro Wrestling Show here on Connect. Thank you all for watching the Pro Wrestling Show. But don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe, Miss Ken. Tell a friend, call a friend, subscribe. Subscribe, Miss Ken. Make wrestling content for you, the pro wrestling audience. And join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on Connect. So we'll get later on the second half of the Pro Wrestling Show. Predict the outcome for Hell in a Cell with the 2 World Championship matches. And some matches I predict that's going to be added to the card later on in the show. But let's get to Hot Topics. On Hot Topics this week, we had heard reports that The Undertaker will be making an appearance at Survivor Series. What they're doing, the WWE Network is doing this 30 years of The Undertaker, thing, specials and stuff. So The Undertaker is fitting for The Undertaker to have his 30-year anniversary that he did the Survivor Series in 1990. I can't say how it was, but everybody know you put one and one together. The Undertaker been a staple of the WWE, a cornerstone of the WWE for so long, for 30 years. That's amazing. That's a feat that will never be accomplished ever again by any superstar. I'm telling you. So good for the WWE and the Undertaker as well, making an appearance at Survivor Series. Also, the WWE's been under investigation as of late with their hot spots being COVID-19, the testing, with the WWE having it at the Performance Center, the Capitol Wrestling Center, Full Sail, and the Ombre Arena, what they call it, Thunderdome. So they're being investigated on the COVID testing. So we'll see where they're gonna go, with that. Also, speaking of that, they said that WWE lied about quarterly earnings to 5 wrestlers. Well, Stephanie McMahon made this tweet recently this week that she said about the WWE community, about being Corporation of the Year. Well, former WWE superstar and current AEW superstar Jake Hager, familiarly known as Jack Swagger, made a comment and said something about why WWE fired his 300 workers. Stephanie made no comment. Wow. That's some guts right there. Jack Swagger don't care. I mean, he don't care. He just don't care. I mean, he don't care. Woo. He just don't care. Also, Roman Reigns' cousin wants to join the WWE. You might have known as Lance and why they might want to join, but WWE probably looking at it like they want to put the Usos and everybody else. So we'll talk about that on the Hot Top on the second half of Predicting Outcome, what's going on with that. So it's just a rumor and stuff. Let's see. But his other cousin, Jacob Fatu, I don't see why WWE ain't got him, and he in MLW. Come on, somebody AEW need to get him. But see, you don't want to put him out with AEW trying to do like the Hogan factor, just feed him the monsters, and they ain't working. You know how they go. But it's working. They putting the monsters down, but it's like the Hogan system. You go against the monsters. You got your toys and stuff, and then you go from there. You know how it go. Y'all know how it go. Also, former NXT champion Killer Kross, who relinquished the championship during Takeover, he's coming back strong. He showed a video of him and his girlfriend Scarlett Bordeaux. She's lovely. Him and another a lady getting him back to Road to Recovery. Look for Killer Kross to come back on NXT and take over from there. It's a lot of chaos going on in NXT. Like the champion not. Ridge Holland was supposed to get a push. Finn Balor with a broken jaw. Man, woo. Also, WWE legend and Jake the Snake Roberts says Bret Hart was a terrible WWE World Champion. Ooh, coming from Jake the Snake Roberts, who's never been the World Champion, and he tried to manage Lance Archer to be a World Champion, couldn't do that. So Bret Hart went back and said Jake the Snake Roberts don't know what he's talking about. So Jake the Snake getting a lot of backlash, as you know. Also, veteran WCW wrestler passed away. Got his name, but he passed away from COVID-19 our thoughts and prayers are with him at this time, at this moment. Also, on SmackDown, you saw Shorty G requests himself as Chad Gable. Now, Shorty G has the talent, ability. He reminds me of Kurt Angle when Kurt Angle was in his prime, way back like 20 years ago. Got the gift for gab, got the potential, but I guess Vince not looking at that. Vince gonna want you to be taller. I'd say if Shorty G was about 5'11", 6 foot, he'll get Vince McMahon attention. But Vince McMahon, and Shorty G knows it. Vince McMahon, I think once Vince leaves the WWE some way, somehow, then I think the smaller wrestlers will get pushes. You know, you can thank AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan for, you know, the smaller wrestlers to get somewhat of a decent push and be under McMahon's radar. When McMahon looked at Hogan and Cena and everybody else, it's like they're 6 foot something. They got Hogan was 6'7", 6'8". He's the man. He's the man. You can look at that and you look at body guys too, which that's okay. But you want a mixture or a variety, array of wrestlers, not just I got to have a body guy. I got to have a guy that's a giant. Come on, Vince. Come on. Shorty G should be able to get a decent push. Also, Raheem Rajo signed a new multi-year deal with Impact. The current X Division champion signed a new deal with Impact. So, you know, he's getting pushed by Scott D'Amore. I know that for a fact. Scott D'Amore likes him. Also, Y2J and MJF had their Ladell dinner. I didn't even pronounce it right, but it was, seeing that, I was like, what in the world? They were supposed to have a discussion, and then they went from discussion to a Broadway musical. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what in the world is going on? They're dancing. They're dancing with scantily women, which ain't nothing wrong with that, but it was more like Broadway than wrestling. And I said, I know Vince McMahon wouldn't even, you know, try to get into that, but the ratings did okay with it, but I don't know. It's just wild to me. Also, Abaddon, who's an AEW women's star, she got injured, hospitalized with the AEW taping this past week. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that. They probably gonna can that match, but we'll see. I heard that somebody, a reform, another person coming to the AEW, they might well make AEW the place of WWE rejects. I'm just saying. Also, a former MLW star, Teddy Hart, jailed in Texas and was declared a fugitive. This is wild. Teddy Hart declared a fugitive in Texas. Wow, Teddy Hart had a good career in MLW. He was signed a WWE contract at 18 and 17. What happened? It's just like, wow, he could have been next Bret Hart. And he just, drugs, sex, and rock and roll took over from there. Also, Impact announces they're going to give away Impact Plus for this weekend only. So, free version Impact Plus to promote Bound for Glory, the pay-per-view. So Bound for Glory comes your way, hey, this past weekend and the matches and stuff. But by mention, if you want to watch Pro Wrestling Show for the Impact Bound for Glory, you can go watch it back in our archives. It should be like the next video to it. Just watch back and see what matches that I predicted from Impact. So we tried to be more equal and give Impact fair treatment. We don't cover Impact as much, but we try to give it like a decent, since it's on pay-per-view and stuff. So also, Daniel Bryan admit on Talking Smack, the WWE network show, that he's in his last run as a full-time WWE superstar. Daniel Bryan coming to terms that he wants to be a father. He wants to be family first. So since he's a dad to little kids, he wants to spend time with them as much as he can. So he's gonna wrestle, but he's gonna wrestle less. So I can agree to that. So I can admire that from Daniel Bryan doing that. He wants to spend time with his family. So that's understandable. Making money, making good, decent money, making money that you never thought you were making. You're making it, wow, you know, in the biggest promotion in the world, to be at. So you got that, and then you got the reality show with the Britt Bella twins, and you got the YouTube channel. So Danny Brown should be straight, and then who never know, you might want to do a wrestling, you know what I'm saying, more wrestling school. So you never know. And finally, WWE wants to have his superstars to do mandatory, like counseling for healthy relationships. WWE, in the wake of the that movement going on, I forgot that movement, but on the movement with the Speak Up movement, where women from all wrestling promotion, women and men and all wrestling promoters who've been abused by other promoters, wrestlers, and speaking out, and WWE shed light that they want to help and promote active, healthy relationships among the superstars and their spouses, so prevent less domestic violence. So kudos to WWE on that. And I know who's championing that. Stephanie McMahon's championing that because she's part of the marketing department. She's the head of the marketing department going forward. So, hey. All right, that ends Hot Topics. Let's move back to the second half of Predict the Outcome for WWE Hell in a Cell. All right. Now, but first, honorable mentions. Matches that could be added to the card but not announced right now. I believe that if Keith Lee and Braun Strowman be added to the card because they got unfinished business between each other. They had a decent match on Raw this past week, so look for that. Just that in general. Street Profits versus Bobby Roode for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Stuff like that nature. So we'll see on that. Alright. Well, let's get to the 2 world titles, especially with the WWE Championship match between Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Now, this match got back and forth, started at SummerSlam, continued the Clash of Champions with the Legends. Randy won a World Championship match against Drew at any means necessary, and he got it in the Hell in a Cell. So him and Drew been battling back and forth, but I've been thinking about Randy Orton was going to win it. Well, Drew's been winning as lately, so it's an either-or situation. I want to say Drew McIntyre will win this match because he's been on a roll as WWE Champion. So you got newcomers like Strowman and everybody else. So look for Drew to finally put the kibosh on Randy Orton. And hopefully, if that's not, I'm wrong, then I can't be right. You know what I'm saying? So look for Drew McIntyre to win the match and retain his World Championship. And finally, the main event, Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso for the Universal Championship. Now, this rivalry been kicking wind too at Clash of Champions when Roman mercilessly beat Jey down. Well, Jey wanted to get back up because Roman wanted Jey to acknowledge him as the tribal chief. Jey didn't want to do that. His brother didn't want to do that. So it comes to a head between this family feud. And gasoline hit the feud even more on SmackDown when the consequences were going to be made. Roman told Jey that if he loses to him, Roman said he will quit as Universal Champion. He'll quit as the head of the table. He'll quit as the face of WWE. But if Jey loses, Jey has more to lose. Jey will be disowned by Roman, his wives, his children, his own grandchildren, we even have some, will be disowned. So this match is going to be heavy and it's going to be personal between these two cousins coming to a head. Look for Roman to win is obvious, but I was thinking they were going to do like you fall in line, which I'm thinking it's going to happen. They will have to fall in line and join Roman into his stable and take Roman's orders when Roman wants them to attack somebody that's a threat to his championship. And then they may also mention that Goldberg might want to come into the fray. So look for Goldberg to come into the fray some way or somehow, probably Royal Rumble season. So look for Roman Reigns to retain his Universal Championship over his cousin Jey. I'm telling you, I think it's gonna be the last match of the night because that's a consequence match, and you want to see who's gonna leave out. Roman is the face of WWE, so they would book that last. Whew, Lord. It's a heck of a class of champions. I'm telling you right now. All right. Thank you all for watching this edition of the Pro Wrestling Show for Hell in a Cell. Man, it's going to be a Hell in a Cell with those rivalries, those predictions, and that outcome. I've been your host, Kendrick Dixon. We'll see you next week for another edition.